This is the Black Powder Podcast, coming at you live and direct.
Your salty tears season my life. It's the Black Powder Podcast.
And we are live. This is the Black Powder Podcast, the only real libertarian podcast that you can't hear me?
Tub, we can hear you.
Yeah. Don't interrupt my grand introduction again.
Tub.
Tub. I think this is 2 weeks in a row he did that.
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah.
Go out. Come back in. Go out.
There we go.
All right. While Tub is
Hold on.
He does this every He does this every
We have to give him a double boo. All right, man. Like I was saying, This is the Black Powder Podcast, the only real libertarian podcast that has ever existed before I was rudely interrupted by my DEI hire. I am Marcus Matthews, the only real libertarian and chairman of the Wu-Tang Clan Libertarian Caucus. Tonight, as usual, I am joined by my partner, Eric Parker.
Your partner, Eric Partner.
You literally beat in when I was speaking. My partner, Eric Parker.
Yeah.
How you doing, my good man?
I'm doing good. Not a partner like that. We're both heterosexual. Not that there's a problem with that, but just wanted to clear things up. I already know
there's any problem with that. We're
gonna see it in the comments anyways. So I got some guys at work I told about the podcast. One of them's like, he's like, I'm gonna come in and put a comment on YouTube saying this is the gayest podcast I've ever seen. I'm gonna keep watching.
Oh, so he knows Marcus.
Thank you. I want to already give a shout out. You got minus 200 already.
Your coworker already knows Marcus?
No.
Wow.
I just the word got out. I got a podcast at work. So every new guy's like, he's got they tell him this guy's on a podcast.
Oh, so now they think you're cool because of me.
Yeah. Well, at first they think it's like, what? A podcast? I was like, yeah. And then they're like, what it's about? It's like mostly politics, but started out as a gun show, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Shout out to Amity real quick, because I'm her favorite libertarian, and she already minus 200 points to Tub for the audio issues.
We're not doing that game. That's wrong show. Now,
and this is Tub, the other host, as we like to call him, our certified Florida man, also libertarian. We're gonna have Tub on actually in 2 weeks as a guest, and which I'm truly excited about because we're gonna ask him some hard-hitting questions about.
You don't have them. Who's gonna prep you for the show,
buddy? Huh?
All right, so
I got an idea.
Eric, you tell people about this show, like people you know.
I told like one person. And now I regret it because now they're telling everyone at work. But
yeah, listen, I don't mention this to anybody. Actually, you know what's kind of fun? So last night, by all means, listen.
All right, listen. So the person I told about this podcast lives in the district of the guy we had on from Winston-Salem. So I was getting one of our guests a vote. I was like, go watch the podcast.
Yeah.
Got to work with.
Tub, when is the last time you talked to somebody about libertarians?
Yeah.
Oh, I talk about libertarians often. In fact, just earlier today, we were up fixing to go do some shooting, and I started having the conversation. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, when you talk to non-libertarians about the Libertarian Party, listen, a lot of their complaints aren't wrong. Let's be very clear about this. And what this one in particular was mentioning about is how the people that we put up as candidates, like especially presidential level candidates.
Usually.
Yeah. And so listen, I said, we have a change coming. Like there's the mood is changing, the representation is changing. I have hope in what the Libertarian Party is going to be doing. And so at that, I am willing to do my part. Marcus, you should try this. I'm willing to do my part to help the Libertarian Party grow in such a way that we don't have to be ashamed of what we're doing, that we can grow positively. Now,
Tub, I think that's a great segue. I'm not trying
for what we're about to get into. Yes.
Why don't you do the segue when you're ready, Tub?
Oh, go ahead. No, this is Marcus. Remember? Because
Okay.
I'm the guy on the bottom.
With that being said, we have a guest today.
I'm Bobby Brady. Some of you won't get that one, but
wrap it up, Box.
Well, Tub is Generation X, and he is the senior on this podcast, as we like to call him. At any rate, we're going to the great state of South Carolina today. And, one of our missions here is to not let, like Tub was mentioning, as well as Eric, you can't let somebody else define who you are. And that has to be very, the Libertarian Party needs to do that. They can't let other people define this. And that's why we're bringing you Libertarian guests, so Libertarian candidates can define themselves for the public and they can hear firsthand what's going on. And today we're going to the great state of South Carolina with Dr. Kasie Whitener. How you doing this fine evening, Dr. Kasie Whitener?
Hi guys, I'm glad to be here. It's been a long day. This is the only thing on my calendar for the day because I was on spring break this week. And so I woke up at like 9 o'clock this morning. I'm thinking, I literally have 12 hours to kill before I have anything of importance to do.
Well, thank you for making a little time for us, I guess, in your non-busy schedule with 12 hours to kill. But
I was doing a good job.
Worst day ever. Nothing else to even think about. Oh man, I got to go with those guys.
I can't have
it's a little
one.
like not going to the gym in the evenings because then I spend all day talking myself out of it. Like I'm a 5 a.m. gym person because I just have to get up and go. Like otherwise, I will spend.
Just cut out. Is that just me?
Yeah.
We're Tab. No, we're Tab frozen.
I'm not.
Casey, can you hear us?
This is how she finished out her day. She
Hey,
said, I was on. I did 30 seconds on. I'm out.
I completely blame Tub.
Why you can't hear us? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
One thing I did want to say is I didn't mention Kasie. If you can still hear us, go ahead and take yourself out and come back in. But she's running for Senate in the state of South Carolina. We're gonna do her partial intro now until she could get back.
You might have to kick her out. And what if she's just still ranting? She's doing. There we go.
Well, there she kicked herself out. Okay, so she's running for Senate.
Like
we could just dip. We can just kick her out.
Watch, I'm doing it right now. No.
Okay, bye.
Hey, can we get Marcus out? Where's that button?
Wow.
Yeah, how do we do? Is there a dump Marcus button on here somewhere?
That's messed up. So
that's messed up.
She has a tough race in the state of. Here she comes.
Yeah, no.
Hey, how's it going?
There we go.
Can I tell you the ultimate Joe Buck to be like, I waited all day for this, and then to have a Wi-Fi.
What a punchline.
Yeah. So I was just saying, you're running for Senate in the state of South Carolina. Yes. It's a tough race. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself and whatnot?
Yeah, so I'm just, thank you again, guys. Glad to be here. I'm Kasie Whitener. I teach entrepreneurship at the University of South Carolina. I've got a couple of published novels. I'm also a morning radio show host here in Columbia. I do that 4 mornings a week. And then on Saturdays, we have a show about writing. So me and my buddy get together and talk about novels. I have a PhD in organization and management, so they get to call me Dr. Whitener at school, but I don't do much throwing that doctor around. It seems like where I work, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a PhD, so it feels like everybody has one, so it doesn't feel that special. But yeah, we've been in Columbia since about 2012. And when I moved here is when I joined the Libertarian Party of South Carolina. So sclp.org is that website, and got connected with the Midlands Libertarians and a couple of the guys who've been in the party for a long time. And I've been voting Libertarian since the early 2000s. And we can get into that if you guys want to talk about how I got there. But then once we moved here and I was looking for friends and trying to, assimilate here in Columbia is when I really got involved in the party. I was the state chair for a couple of years. I've been the Richland County chair for a few years. I've been to the last 4 conventions. Orlando was my first one, and went to Reno, went to Washington, D.C. So I guess the last 3 conventions, and then I'll be up at Grand Rapids. So just kind of being active in the group. And then I guess the biggest reason I'm running for Senate is that the national debt is an existential threat and nobody is talking about it. And it's starting to get a little bit more traction now. Rand Paul and Thomas Massie are talking a little about it a little bit more, but the appetite for spending in Washington is the reason everything is so expensive. And the 2 parties just keep blaming each other when it's a together problem. So we just have to get rid of the duopoly. We got to get them out of there. We got to get people who are willing to go in and actually start cutting things and stop the spending. So that's my primary issue. And when I think about where do you solve that, you solve it in the House of Representatives or you solve it at the Senate. If I were to get into the House of Representatives, it's only a 2-year term. So you spend most of your time campaigning to get reelected. And that can be a really big uphill battle for libertarian candidates. So I thought if I go to the Senate instead, that gives me 6 years to create some coalitions, really get some traction, really do some really good work. So that's why I chose the U.S. Senate. And about 6 years ago, a friend of mine in the party, Victor, said to me, we need to get Lindsey Graham out of office. What would you think of running against him in 2026? And so 6 years ago, I sat down with my husband and my daughter and I said, hey, we should do this. And so we've been planning for it. We launched the campaign a year ago on my birthday in Kasie, South Carolina. There's actually a town called Kasie, South Carolina. And the campaign is Kasie, South Carolina. And that's what we've been doing for the last year, is going around and get to know people a little bit better and trying to put forward a positive message of we don't have to live this way. So there you go. That's it.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I would like to ask the question you kind of alluded to. You said you joined the South Carolina Libertarian Party in 2012, but were you registered as a Libertarian before then? And if not, can you tell people about how you realized you philosophically were a Libertarian, if that's using that appropriately? And then whenever politically you became a Libertarian and registered Libertarian? I know that's kind of a 3-part question.
Yeah, so a little bit like you, I'm a recovering Republican. I campaigned for Jack Kemp back in 1996 and was part of the John McCain crowd in the 2000 era. When he came to South Carolina, they just ran him out. It was awful the way they talked about him and the way they treated him. They were really very ugly. And by they, I mean the Republicans were very ugly to John McCain. And like now, fast forward, I can see he was a war hawk. Like he was problematic, right? But at the time, he's a Naval Academy grad. My dad's a Naval Academy grad. Like I just was like big time pro John McCain. So about that same time, like 2000, I'm thinking this is wrong. This is broken. The Republican Party is broken. And a friend of mine said, well, really, where your thoughts are, your values, your ideas, you really sound more libertarian. And I had never heard of the libertarians before. And there used to be a website that was just libertarian.org. It was not affiliated with the party. It was just about the concept of being libertarian. And I went on it, I read it, the entire thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is exactly all the things I believe. So what do I need to do about this? And that's when I started seeing candidates showing up on ballots. But then we moved from Charlotte down to Easley. We lived there for a few years. It wasn't until we moved to Columbia that I actually like sought out the party and reached out and said, hey, let me, I want to be part of this and join these folks. So just voting libertarian and kind of watching libertarianism for the first few years.
Yep. That's kind of how it starts for a lot of people. And I'm sure you're aware, a lot of us became, or at least me, the Ron Paul revolution. And I stayed Republican because of Ron Paul, because of Rand Paul. But then in 2020, I was like, all right, this party's not getting closer to liberty. It's getting further away. You just did it maybe 20 years before me.
Well, and a big part of that is the corporate machinery that runs the Democrats and the Republicans, as we all kind of know. Like it's about raising money. It's about hiring people. It's about paid operatives. Like the idea that they spend millions, billions of dollars on campaigns is obscene. I mean, the amount of money that went into not getting Kamala Harris elected is outrageous. Everything from media buys to consultants and when I first registered with the FEC, the consultants were reaching out to me, trying to pitch me their services, right? And I had one lady that pitched me her services for $3,500 a month. And they were going to tell me where to go. They were going to write all of my speeches. I was not going to have to do anything on social media. They were going to do it all for me for $3,500 a month. And I was like, where am I going to get $3,500? And she goes, well, it's just one. What did she say? It's just one max donor per month. And I was like, I don't have any max donors, like just one per month. And that would just go right in your pocket. Like that's not even $3,500 toward my media buys and $3,500 toward buying signs and buying stickers. Like that was $3,500 just right in that lady's pocket. And I was like, that's insane. That is crazy. But then she said something else that actually I was like, yeah, you're fired. She said, campaigning isn't what people think it is. It's not easy and it's not fun. And I was like, well, I don't expect it to be easy, but I don't do anything if it's not fun. So you can just, you can just take off right now. Like I'm going to have a good time with this. I'm going to enjoy meeting my fellow South Carolinians. I'm going to enjoy going all over my state and you can't make this miserable for me. You just can't.
Yeah. And I love that perspective, and Tub can relate to this, being a former candidate, actually twice, because he ran for
me too.
Governor. And you haven't done it yet, Marcus. You haven't done it yet. I'm giving you a yet. Like Tubbs,
he's running for mayor of his garage.
Yeah, I'm saying HOA president.
I'm the chairman of the Wu-Tang caucus of the Libertarian Party.
He's the only member of.
I was elected.
Yeah. I actually met Tubb running for office. Tubb and I probably, joined the Libertarian Party and then decided to run for office. But you get my point. Like, I made a lot of relationships when I decided to run for office. Lifelong relationships, unless Tubb starts spitting me off. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see how the show goes.
But and others outside of Tubb, people from other political affiliations. We've had some of them on this podcast. You know what I mean? Like, people outside of the Libertarian Party. And it's all because I decided to run for office. So, just try to have fun. That's great advice for anyone watching this. Like, if you're not having fun, you probably shouldn't be doing it, especially if it takes up a year or more of your life. Like, you've already been in it for a year and, you got at least another, I'm bad at math, but 6 months at least. I don't know. Is that the grind?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, till November 3rd, right? So we have our convention coming up on April 11th. In South Carolina, the Democrats and the Republicans have primaries. Those will happen in June for them. But the Libertarians don't have a primary. We have a convention, and that'll be April 11th. And then beyond that, it's off till November 3rd. And just kind of, like I said, going to all 46 counties, visiting everybody I can. We're doing a rodeo up in Chester County. We're doing a shag competition down in Hemingway, South Carolina, chili cook-off.
Dance, right? The shag is a dance.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, clarity. I need clarity on that.
What's the shag party?
It's a dance.
It's a dance. It's a dance.
Sorry, Marcus.
Okay.
You got to remember, if you're a Gen Xer, you got to remember there was a cheesy teen movie in the 80s called Shag, and it was about the dance in South Carolina, and it was basically like the 80s version of Where the Boys Are, where these 4 girls all go out to the beach and they all have these different experiences all around this shag competition. So anyway, it's a dance.
The 90s may have sullied my memory.
Marcus does a lot of watching Steel Magnolias, so it's the same premise.
So I told you that in confidence.
There you go. There's nothing wrong with that.
All right. So first off, let me just mention this. So you mentioned about being in Easley. Now, remember I mentioned to you beforehand about how that's where all of my wife's family lives, is all in Easley. They're all right up in there. So,
that's great.
Because you mentioned people out Easley, most people don't know where it is, but of course, if you're at Clemson, it's right there anyway. All right, now.
Yeah, it's halfway between Clemson and Greenville, and my mom still lives there. And the guy that represents that area at the state level, a guy named Neil Collins, is probably the best state house representative we've got. He's fantastic.
And he's representing the Easley area?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I promise you that some of her uncles are probably in with him. Honestly,
probably.
Because
he was a school teacher. He was a school teacher.
Okay, so her aunts and all, and she has a cousin now. It's all teaching. Have all taught in Easley.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So then he knows Neil Collins.
So now here's the thing. You mentioned something which is kind of funny. Let me know how it's working for you. So you mentioned about how I guess there's like a campaign manager was trying to say, hey, it's only $3,500. What's the big deal? And I have learned that many people who are positions like that, they don't understand the Libertarian Party. Like they don't understand that we don't raise money well. We have all these issues. So how are you doing? And where are you finding? Are you raising enough? What's your number? Who do you find are your biggest donors so far? Stuff along those lines.
Yeah, we're doing great. We actually we surpassed the $5,000 mark, which was our goal by December, was to make sure we hit that $5,000 mark. We passed that. So we've got money to be able to pay to get into these events that we want to go to. I have a campaign manager. She's a volunteer, and our commitment is to put our finances on the website and show what money's coming in and what money's going out. So we don't have the page up yet, but that's the plan, is to have that transparency on the website so people can see. We're trying to only buy from South Carolina vendors, and try to make sure that we're really just using the money on things like event entry fees, signage, handouts, that sort of thing. And so we don't want to have, she puts a lot of time and effort into it. And if you're trying to get people working on your social media, if you're trying to get really good quality video, if you're trying to get, there's a lot of skilled positions that we do want to be able to compensate professionals for doing those jobs. But in Sarah's case, Sarah's like, look, I'm the last one that needs to get paid. Let's make sure we're paying the people that need to be doing these skilled pieces for us. But like I said, we're going to have full transparency on that. Now, the biggest donor I've had so far is my dad, which is awesome because until about a month ago, he had not given me a dime.
Oh, you're earning it. Listen, there's no free money in this one. You will earn every nickel of
That's
it.
right. That's right. But we have about 8 monthly donors that are giving us money every single month. So that's a big, now our next fundraising goal is to get that to 20. We'd like to have 20 monthly donors, whether you're at $10 a month or $100 a month, it doesn't matter to me, but just to have those people who are consistently supporting the campaign every single month. That's what I'm looking for.
Now, are you finding those are libertarian donors or outside of the party?
There are both. They're both.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got the 2 biggest monthly donors that I have. One is in the party and very active in the party. And the other one is married to somebody in the party, but she's not active at all.
And we have the link posted right here if you're watching. So you can click on that. And if you want to help out a libertarian, not if you want to help out a libertarian, and give 5, 10, 15, 20 bucks, whatever you can give at this point right now. And then say you did it, and we're going to give you this massive shout out where everybody's going to know you're cool while we're live and everybody's watching. So
Let
go
us
ahead
know
and
in the comments if you went to the donor box and you gave to Kasie's campaign. Let us know live in the comments. We'll share your comment here so everybody can see it.
Word.
Love that, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
What is your ballot access? What do you have to do for ballot access?
So the Libertarians have ballot access right now, which is part of, as long as the party is organized and we follow the rules. So we have to organize our counties every 2 years. So we do that. We make sure that we've got county leads. We're organized in, I think, 26 of the 46 counties. So we make sure that we've got the counties reorganized. We file our paperwork every 2 years and all that. So we've got ballot access.
Now, do you have to pay or anything to actually be on the ballot? Really?
No, because we don't have a primary, so we don't have to pay filing fees.
Man, and we thought Florida was pretty good.
Do you have signatures or you just file the paperwork?
We just file the paperwork. As a matter of fact, awesome. On March 17th, we're all going to show up at the same time at the Elections Commission and file together and take pictures and everything. So you'll see some of that on social media.
South Carolina sounds like they're way easier than Florida.
For real.
There's a bill right now. There is a bill in the General Assembly right now that plans to levy filing fees. And right now it's stalled in committee, but they bring it up every session. And this year it looks like, so I'll be honest with you, if all of us go and file, and we're looking to have, I think we have 36 candidates so far. So we're pretty excited about the slate for South Carolina. But if we go on in our filing period from March 15th to March 30th, and we put up a number of candidates, I have a feeling this bill will pass. And in 2028, we'll have to pay filing fees because they're basically, even though we don't get a primary, they're trying to charge all of us to pay for the primaries.
They're going to make it more difficult.
That's a load of horse plop.
Yeah.
So
it's likely.
Now that you have your campaign together, you've got some money in there. What are your issues? What are you trying to tell the people of South Carolina as far as why they should vote for you because you're going to do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, the most important thing is the national debt. So I'm talking a lot about the national debt and specifically the two biggest drivers of the national debt. The reason it's growing is because of Social Security and Medicare. I know you guys know this, but these are uncapped programs where they are sliding with income and sliding with cost of living. So those payouts are being made, not necessarily the Social Security benefits aren't necessarily what you paid in, you get back. You're getting a stipend that's based on cost of living, right? So this is a Ponzi scheme and it's unsustainable. On the Medicare side, it's medical insurance, which distorts the medical market. Anytime government gets into any industry, it distorts the market. And that's what it's done with Medicare. And this is offering health insurance for retired individuals because they tied health insurance to employment way back in the day. So we've got to decouple health insurance from employment, break those two apart, and we got to decouple health insurance from health care and work on some primary care, right? The direct physician's care kind of stuff, those entrepreneurial things to try to fix this healthcare scenario we have. But ultimately, we have to get out of the business of providing health insurance for anybody, really, from a government perspective. So those two things are the biggest things. And I think that we don't hear anybody talking about it because geriatric voters are, clutching their purses and freaking out because we're going to kill Medicare, we're going to kill Social Security. So how do you have a rational conversation about what does the future look like here, and how do we sunset both of these programs so that we don't drive ourselves completely into the poorhouse? And that's most of the conversations I'm having. Is we can't be afraid to have that conversation. We have to talk about it because it's not going to go away. The problem's not going to go away unless we fix it.
So, now, when you
go ahead, Tub. You go ahead.
So, all right. So you brought up two things. One is the national debt, and how are people receiving it there? Because a lot of times people don't care that, to them, the national debt doesn't factor into their life.
They all care. Everybody I talk to, everybody I have said the national debt is what I'm about. They're all like, their eyes get big and they go, yes, thank God. I think people know that we owe a lot of money. And anytime you owe a lot of money, you just feel it in the back of your brain all the time, right? And it's just like a monkey on everybody's back. And I think that we've been desensitized to it. We've been told it's not that big a deal. You remember all the Biden era stuff where it was like, well, we owe that money to ourselves, so it doesn't really matter. Like, economics, like that's not true. You're killing me with that. So I think there have been a lot of spin around it. And I mentioned the people that came out of the woodwork to talk to me when I filed with the FEC. One of them said the national debt was not a problem and that nobody cared about that and I should find a different issue. And I was like, okay, watch me. And I did what entrepreneurs do, which is called customer discovery. And all from March to December, all we did was go around talking to people and talking about the debt, and to a one, everybody cares. They don't know what to do about it. They understand it's huge. They recognize that it is part of the reason why everything is so expensive. And so they're seeing it, like they feel it. But everybody says, like, if we could get rid of that debt, we'd be so much better off. Nobody wants to leave that to their children and their grandchildren. We all feel that responsibility. Well, all of us except for our elected officials who don't care, obviously.
and then you mentioned about separating the healthcare. Now you understand that that's somewhat of an uphill battle, only because we've all been trained, like you said, we've all been trained that goes with our job. I remember growing up, my dad used to always say, if you can get a job with insurance benefits, it's less like 30-year pay. And he put that into us. Like, that's an understanding. So you said, hey, we got to get this separated, but yes, what is the practical way? Like, what are you offering to say, hey, here's how we can separate this?
Yeah, we've got to be able to create a free market for health insurance. So I don't understand why we can't bundle our health insurance with our car insurance and our homeowners insurance. So we've got to kind of lower those barriers to entry so that other insurers can get into the space. But on top of that, I think the bigger thing is to take the insurance out of the conversation. Like, we should have insurance for catastrophic things, right? Like you do for your home, for your car, right? We don't need to have insurance to pay for our oil changes or for our tires getting rotated. Right? Like, we use insurance for if we've had a car accident. So I think we need to move healthcare in that direction too. So I really like the idea of direct primary care, where we let the physicians run their business. I've talked to some guys over the weekend that have a subscription model where people pay a certain amount every month and they get a certain amount of healthcare access. every month. So I think that's a viable model, but there's a lot of things in different states. There's a lot of rules and regulations, of course, that were put in place by insurance companies that are barriers. They're put up specifically to distort the markets. So we got to go through and we got to figure out, how do you do that at the federal level? The biggest thing is to sunset Medicare, right? Like, how do we get out of the business altogether? And that should give an indication to the industry that things are changing here. So that would be the first thing, is to like, let's go. And but the other part too, I would say, and this is not my idea, all of these are coming to me from like people who, this is what they study, this is what they work on. So I go and try to educate myself talking to them. And there's this gal, Romina, who has a Substack where all she does is write about the national debt. And so she had this idea about putting together these nonpartisan commissions, which we did back when we were trying to go and close a bunch of bases. They called them BRACs. They were the base relocation and closure groups. The BRACs, exactly. So if we could do something like that too, where you could take the political risk out of the conversation and just put a BRAC together that's going to say, okay, let's work on Social Security, and all of these suggestions that come forward, we will adopt them. And the same with Medicare. Okay, we've got to fix this. How do we fix this? Let's put together a BRAC and get those recommendations, and then we'll make some choices from there.
And it's funny because, like, as you're talking about, like, in my mind, even when I'm asking these questions, I'm so used to dealing with people at the state level, and we're like, okay, now I got to remember, okay, now you're federal, so that changes things. Let me ask you this real quick, then we'll let Marcus go. When you get to DC, who do you in your mind say, okay, these people I can work with, these ones not so much, and give names? Like, are there some people you go, okay, when I get there, I feel like I can get things done in this direction with this person?
Well, yeah, I mean, Rand Paul is my man, so he's going to be the first. Like, I watch his committee hearings. I watch what he's working on. He's the one I'm following the most. I retweet him all the time. So he would be my first. I would like be a super fan girl to hang out with him. But as far as like, who can I work with and who can I not? My perspective is I can work with anybody. I can work with anybody. We can find common ground on anything, as long as we start with the first principle of things have got to change. We cannot keep doing what we've been doing. And so if I'm coming up against somebody that's just like, well, this is how it is, and this is, this works for me and my constituents love it, I'm going to be like, all right, pass. But if I'm talking to somebody who's like, yeah, this is a real issue, I think we should do something about it. And we can have differing views as to how to fix it, but at least they acknowledge it's a problem. Yeah, we can work together.
Yeah, I'll let Eric go first, and then I'll jump in with the next.
And I was just thinking back to the healthcare problem, and then you mentioned Rand Paul, and he's mentioned this, so you probably already know it since you follow him. But this idea of like healthcare tied to the employer, I've touched on that, but he's got this membership plan. It's like you should be able to buy your health insurance through Costco or Sam's Club. You know what I mean? It's a large enough group of people, like an employer, to pay a membership fee. It's almost like primary care, but membership. And he's got bills out there or something. You can probably find a policy.
Can you imagine it being part of your Amazon Prime? Like,
yeah, exactly.
What if you could get your healthcare as part of your Prime membership?
Yeah.
Like,
pay a little extra towards your Prime. You know what I mean? And then you have the market competing. Because Costco, Sam's Club, Trader Joe's, whatever. I know Trader Joe's isn't a membership, but you get my point. Aldi, whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, just an idea. I'm sure you've already heard of that.
You guys reminded me of a ongoing joke I had with my son, because about probably like 5 to 7 years ago, we said it by the time he's my age, or it was like 30 plus years down the line. By the time I'm only 27. So in about 30 years, when I'm 57, we said there's only going to be 3 companies left. That's going to be Amazon, Walmart, and Starbucks. And so
you've seen Wall-E then.
Yeah. But
if you've seen Wall-E, by and large is coming for us all.
Oh yeah, for sure. I thought Wall-E was one of the greatest movies ever, because the script had to be all of about 3 to 4 pages. Right. And how they sold that to a major studio was amazing, because I was like, this is all going to be like graphics and images. Talking wise, it's nothing. But this is what I wanted to ask you, and why people should vote for libertarians. I often say vote libertarian, but you mentioned something about legacy, about the debt that we're going to leave our children and our grandchildren and our great-great-grandchildren. Why do you think it is that people see that legacy of what's going on right now, but still vote for the same people that are running up the debt and doing what they're doing? What is the fear that you think they have about putting a libertarian in office that says, hey, I'm going to change this? Why are they so scared of that?
Oh, it's the you can't win lie. It's the you can't win lie. I mean, the first conversation I had with somebody that I'd reached out to, his exact thing to me was, well, you can't win, but here's what you can do. And I was like, but why can't I win? I'm on a ballot in a 3-way race. I only need 1 million votes. Why can't I go find 1 million people? Right? Like,
Right.
I've done the math. I can win. I just have to find 1 million people to show up and vote for Kasie. But yeah, I think it's that. I think it's the you can't win lie. I hear that a lot. I was told by a Democrat in our state that I had a snowball's chance in hell. A Democrat in my state told me that. Like, are you kidding me? My chances are just as good as yours, buddy, because we are a full-blown red state. But yeah, I think it's that. I think people think of that as like they're taking too much of a risk because they think that this person can't win. And they think of it that the throwing away your vote kind of thing. And what we're trying to do is talk to them about how if it's not just you, it's the person next to you and the person next to them and the person next to them. And if you can create a community around this idea and they start to see that other people believe in this same thing, then they'll participate and they'll come forward. I don't think that they see their candidate or their party is to blame. I think that they always think it's the other party.
I'm sorry, but that's exactly what it is. Everybody thinks my guy's okay. They need to change their guy.
Well, except in South Carolina. Nobody in South Carolina thinks our guy is okay.
But he
you are right. You're right. He's not okay. But
that's all I'm going to say about that. But I'll just say in South Carolina.
That's why I say we're shy away from that a little bit. So here's the thing. So many people, like Eric will know, even when we were running, people would come up and look, you know, one in particular, hey, but I like libertarians. I like what they believe, but you guys don't have a chance to win. I said, if all these people who said, I like what you believe, but you don't have a chance to win, would actually vote, do something different and vote libertarian, you'd be surprised about how much stuff we actually could win if people would get off of everybody else needs to change. We're okay. And I think we have to overcome
that's the other
that
message, though. But that's the other message too, Tub, is I don't need for them to be libertarian. I just want them to vote libertarian. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference there, because if we're starting to talk about this as a club, and are you like me? And do we all believe the exact same things? And are we the same tribe? Like, that's when people start to go, well, I just don't jive with, like, a guy asked me, the primary care guy on Saturday, he was like, so are you one of those libertarians that thinks that all drugs should be legal and that prostitution should be legal? And I was like,
well,
I mean, yes. And I'm not going to Congress to make prostitution legal. Like, that's not so I think that there's this weird sort of like purity test thing where it's like, well, I don't agree with everything you say. I'm like, you don't agree with everything the Republicans do. So why is there a problem here? So yeah, that's a challenge.
Earlier today, I was having a talk with a gentleman about it, and he says, listen, he goes, well, what it is he was talking about how the Republicans used to always be the ones that wouldn't spend. He says, so that's what kept them away from the Democrat Party, because the Democrat Party would spend and spend and spend. And so I said, well, hang on, how are those Republicans doing with spending? Well, I said, exactly. So now it seems like your only real best bet now is to go libertarian, because they're the ones who are willing to look out for our money, and the other two have already proven, but you still can't get them out of that mindset. And so, like, I'll tell you right now, and Eric knows, when I was running here, when we were running up here, I'll tell you right now, I still tell people, I don't care if you don't change your party. I tell people, I don't care. Stay in your party. Vote libertarian when the time comes. When you have those candidates, vote for libertarian. And of course,
you see one of us on your ballot,
shut up. We want money and we need people in the parties. And let me ask you a question. So what actually part of the conversation from earlier today was, and it's now we're talking about the presidential level, but you'll see it. You got a statewide race, and they go, you can't raise the money. You can't raise the money to be effective in what you're trying to do. And that's a real problem. So what is your way to kind of get around that a little bit?
Yeah, we have two. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to think about it later and go, should I have told people this? So we have two strategies. The first is we have a very specific budget number that we're trying to hit, and that budget number is very modest. It's very modest. We're at like about $100,000 is kind of what we're looking for. Okay, we would love $1 million because $1 per vote would be great, but we think we can make this work on about 100 grand. Okay. And then the second piece of that is, and we're not going to waste your money. We're going to be very transparent about how the money came in and what we spent it on. We're going to, South Carolina vendors, South Carolina events, we're putting the money back into the community by using, $250 to go to the rodeo, these kinds of things, right? Then the other piece of this is these campaigns that are spending a crazy amount of money, call it what it is. It's a crazy amount of money. Lindsey Graham has a $16 million war chest, and the leading Democrat, one of her strategists told me that they plan to raise $30 million. That's insane. Why do you need $30 million if you only need 1 million votes? Like, what is wrong with that's a crazy amount of money. And there's not any reason for you to be paying people to go door knocking. If you have a good message, people will show up for you. You shouldn't have to pay people to run county offices, right? Like, we're just going to go visit all these counties and show up to parties they're already having. You know what I mean? You shouldn't have to pay for big events with audio and visual and all this other garbage that you're having to spend a lot of money on. Again, show up where the people are and talk to them face to face. So our strategy is really just to call them out for wasting a ton of money. Do you have any idea how much good you could be doing with that money if you weren't filling the pockets of political operatives and paying people to do stuff they should be willing to do for free? Like, we marched in a parade on Sunday at St. Patrick's Day, and one of the other statewide, well, they're a federal candidate, but they're not statewide. One of the other candidates, an incumbent, walked a few positions ahead of us, and he had like 35 people with him. And I was like, how many of those people do you think are getting paid? And all of us are like, they're all getting paid. They're all getting paid. If there's 35 people walking in this parade with him, they're all being paid to be there. And when we got to the end of the parade cycle, he and one person were standing there watching the rest of the parade, and everybody else had left. You know why? Because they were getting paid to walk. They weren't getting paid to be there to support. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's outrageous.
But you see a lot of the fact that people will jump from party to party just to work on a campaign. Like, they don't care about the beliefs or anything like that. It's just, where am I going to get paid from? And unfortunately, that's the model we're at. And that's our uphill battle as libertarians. Like, it's we hate the system, but unfortunately, sometimes we got to work within that same system that we very much hate. And the money in politics is an example of it.
If we can't win in that system, we need a blue ocean strategy. We need to do things differently. We have to do things that they're not doing. We have to go places where they're not going. We have to see the things that they take for granted. We need to value. Like, that's the critical piece there. I don't know if anybody's ever read Blue Ocean Strategy, but you guys know I teach business. So if you just go and Google Blue Ocean Strategy, you'll find it. It's how Southwest Airlines won. It's how Yellowtail made wine accessible for regular people, right? It's Blue Ocean Strategy is a proven way to get out in front of your competitors. Now, eventually they're going to follow us into the marketplace. We know that eventually they're going to flood it behind us, but we only need till November 3rd. This entrepreneurial venture, this campaign, has a stop date of November 3rd. And on November 3rd, we're done, right? So we don't necessarily need it, but our plan is to not do it their way. We can't. We would just be wasting everybody's money and time. So we're doing it our own way.
It's kind of Larry Sharp model. Okay.
Well, and I was just going to say, like, my strategy, and I didn't win, was to do it everywhere that they're not doing, but also try to sneak into where they are if it didn't cost me money.
You got kicked out all the time.
I got kicked out, but I would go to Republican club meetings
all the time.
And hand my stuff out till they kicked me out. Or
he went everywhere. He went everywhere.
I went to Ron DeSantis speaking engagements and passed my stuff out outside the Republican headquarters. You know what I mean? So, but that didn't that costed me the price of a palm card. You know what I mean? And the willingness to be trespassed. But that was it. You know what I mean? So.
Well, we need the name recognition. Eventually, we're going to have to invest in traditional media. I mean, we know that. The only way to get on the debate stage is to spend a certain amount of money with the Post and Courier. They run all of the media in South Carolina. They're the ones who sponsor the debates. So we know that we're going to have to spend money on that kind of thing. So there are places that we but that's part of the budget, right? Is to be able to do
you
that.
have a dollar amount for that? And have you thought about doing like a money bomb for that? Like that's a big deal to make the debates. I'm just saying, not trying to give you unsolicited advice, but that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
Is like,
yeah, no. So we
realize
we have
donors
to,
love when you have like a project, like here's a goal. We need to raise this dollar amount for this item. And it's a big deal. And people are more willing to give when they know what it's going towards. So I don't know.
Yeah, we do. We have a dollar amount for the advertising, so we know what we need to hit for that, and we have to get past the April 11th convention. So like right now, I really need to focus on our delegates and help the South Carolina Libertarian Party see that I think I would be a really good representative for us. I think I'll be a really good candidate for us, and convince them to say yes to me on April 11th. And I know most of them, I feel pretty good about that. But I do have a competitor in our party. There is somebody else who wants to run in our party as well. So we got to do that. And we are a free market party. So I don't mind the competition. Like I've been working really hard on this for a year. So hopefully the delegates will see that and I'll get the nomination on the 11th. Then after that, we have a short period of time where we are already on the ballot. And the Democrats and Republicans are still in their primary fights. So at that point, we can be, going around to places where they're not focusing because they're focused so much on their base. And we can be talking to like regular independent voters and all of our sort of swing voters and getting them on board with us before the primaries are even decided. And then after the primaries get decided and we know who our competitors are going to be, that's the first big bomb, which is like, okay, it's a three-way race. It's these two and me. Here's what we need. Let's get this thing off the ground. So that'll be probably their June 15th, I think, or so is when their primaries are. So it'll be toward the end of June. But then, yeah, it'll be crazy pants by that point.
Yeah,
then it's just work.
Your comment or statement about it being the delegates deciding the candidates. A lot of people think that's a controversial model. Some libertarians like the idea of keeping our party elections non-taxpayer funded within the convention model. Some like a hybrid. How do you feel about it? And are you excited about convention, that sort of thing? And how much time have you had to spend to convince delegates that you're the best candidate?
I love convention. We actually had our state convention in November and I got to be a sponsor and had my pop-up and met a bunch of people. And I mean, they knew me because I was state chair, but we did have some new delegates that were there that I hadn't met before. So I was glad to be there, glad to put my money into the South Carolina Libertarian Party so that they could host a really great convention. That was a good use of some of our early campaign funds. And then since then, I've been going and visiting with them. So Horry County is out at Myrtle Beach. It's the fastest growing metropolitan area in the nation. So we've been out there a couple of times. We've done some events with the Horry County Libertarian Party. They also have most of the delegates. We've been to Greenville. We were there for a Christmas party back in December. We'll get back up there before the convention as well. Greenville has the second largest number of delegates. So we'll make sure we get up there and hang out with them. And we've been down to the Low Country. They have a tri-county meeting. So I got to attend one of their tri-county meetings. So that's kind of the way I'm doing it, is going and visiting with the organized counties at their actual county meeting when they were already planning to be there. And then I go and be there too. I'm not asking to speak or anything like that. I'm just shaking hands and observing and just making myself available to them. And that's been pretty effective.
Awesome.
I love the idea of convention, though. I got to tell you, I think, as a matter of fact, I hate the idea of primaries. I do think that when you have a convention, you have people who are knowledgeable about what your party stands for. They're knowledgeable about the process, and they're choosing somebody they think is going to represent the party well. And I think that that's the right thing to do. When we think about the primaries in South Carolina, we have open primaries.
Oh,
What I love about open primaries is that we have a lot of it. I mean, 46% of Americans consider themselves to be independent. So an open primary means that you can participate in either one, right? You can't do both, but you could do either one. And you could, you can weigh in as they're selecting who their candidates are going to be. But the primaries usually still get your hardcore voters out. And so really the candidates have to play totally to their base, and they have to say outrageous, crazy things like, and then you end up with this like primary slate of candidates that are just, I mean, they're not great. They're just not great. Primaries are not great. So I think we should go back to the convention model personally.
Gotcha.
Right. Okay. So I wanted to pivot to current events real quick because as a member of the Senate, you would have a say. Obviously, you'd be on committees and whatnot. Currently the United States is involved in military action in the Middle East again. And, there was no declaration of war. The cost is approaching $100-something billion. And the cost of American service members, which I think should be the primary concern to all Americans, because I said this last week when we had our Iran war episode. If you're going to send people to war, you shouldn't have organizations like Disabled American Veterans and Wounded Warriors, because all that means is we're not taking care of the people we're sending off to war.
Yeah.
So what is your position on the current events going on in the Persian Gulf, Iran region?
I am anti-war, always, hands down. No military conflicts whatsoever. I don't like the idea of preemptive war. I don't like the idea that we are, and I get the arguments. I understand defending our allies. I get it all. But at the end of the day, it's always about money. It's always about money. And somebody gets rich off of war. And if you follow the money, somebody's getting rich. And so, and my perspective is we can't afford this. We don't have the money for this. Again, it goes back to our national debt conversation. We do not have the money for this. And when we think about as we were giving a whole bunch of arms and support or whatever to Ukraine and depleting our own military stockpiles, now people are saying we don't have the military readiness to be able to do this. Well, what does that mean? It means now we got to buy a bunch more weapons, right? And look, let me tell you something. My dad was in the defense industry. He paid for my college in cash, which it was much cheaper in the 90s, but nonetheless. So defense industry, I'm for you guys. I get it. You have a business model. You got to make some money. I understand that. I'm not in any way trying to look pretend like I did not benefit from that defense industry spending when my dad was working for them. But I will just say that there is, when you're in the business of war, you have to perpetuate war. And so that's where we're at. We have a lot of the business of war in our politics right now. And I don't think it's okay. And I think that we got to stop. We got to stop getting involved in these things.
Tub, you're writing something down?
I'm writing stuff down.
Well, I was just going to add to that. Somebody at work today was like, oh, man, the stock market today took a major hit. But then I went and looked up. Lockheed Martin went up. General Dynamics went up. Northrop Grumman went
Boeing.
up. Leidos went up. Boeing, at the time I looked, they were the only one to take a slight, it was like 0.5%, but it'll go up. You know what I mean? Like,
because Boeing, bless their hearts, Boeing.
Exactly. Well, and for you in South Carolina, they're big in Charleston, right? Like
they
have
are big.
A huge Boeing factory in Charleston. I only know that because I just applied for a job there. Don't judge me. But anyways,
I'm not judging.
I'm just kidding.
Charleston is one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been to. I will give you guys credit for that.
Yeah, it is really great down there. Yeah,
Charleston's great. But like that's got to be tough being, but a free market libertarian and having one of the biggest employers in Charleston, South Carolina.
Well, let me. So
how do you balance that?
Yeah, I was going to say, Eric, I'm glad you brought that up because I do want to talk about that. So I, of course, do not want any more spending at all, ever. And the government contractor business is a lucrative business. We even have it so I'm in the capital city. So even in our small business entrepreneurial ecosystem, there's a lot of conversation around things like becoming government contractors and getting these government deals and building your business with government contracting. And every time I talk to entrepreneurs who are thinking about going that route, I'm like, don't do it. The government does not pay, right? It takes 90 days for them to pay you. They want small businesses. They want minority-owned businesses. They will talk you into becoming certified as a this or that. You'll put together this great proposal. You'll spend a lot of time and resources to try to position yourself to be able to get this deal. And then maybe they award it to you, but they just never take action on it. Or maybe they don't even award it to you because the person who wrote the RFP, they were already planning to give it to them anyway. It is the biggest grift in the federal government is government government contracting. And the grift is from the bottom to the top. Everybody is grifting the money out of the government, out of money by selling their services to the government. And it's in every position. I think if you guys are probably like me, like nobody's sad to see the Department of Education go, because let's be honest, all they were doing was passing through. It was just a bigger grift at the education level, where we think of things like the College Board, which sounds all super official, but actually it's a vendor that sells their services. They sell college testing, they sell AP classes, they sell curriculum, right? And they get into the Department of Education. Department of Education makes it the standard across the whole nation. It drives everybody's prices up. Like it's a grift. And anytime our government tries to do something, they hire vendors to do it. And every time they hire vendors, they get grifted, like every time. So my thing is, you can build a business if you're creating value. If you're creating something that people want, you can create value, you can make money. You do not have to sell to the government to make money. So in a business like a Boeing, right, or some of these big government contractors that we have in South Carolina, if you're worried that losing your government contract means you're going to lose your business, you need to diversify your business. Like that's the bottom line there, because we can't continue to pay for all this stuff we're doing. We just don't have the money. Our national debt is an existential threat. It is the biggest national security threat we're facing. And any company out there that's overcharging our government needs to know that they're part of the problem.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got soapbox.
No, that was awesome.
Get back up there.
Yeah.
Get back on the
you need to snip that. Yeah.
Hey,
snip that and put
have
that
your people clip that. That they're directly, discussed an issue that people within your state could and should be facing. Real quick, I just want to get your goal's 1 million votes. I looked up party registration statistics for the state of South Carolina, excuse me. Total registered voters currently, if this is up to date, 3.5 million. This says 1.4 Democrats, 1.7 Republicans, 356,000 other / independent. It doesn't break it down to libertarian votes, but I imagine you're not, with those numbers, obviously you're not going to win if only libertarians vote for you, right?
No, no, we absolutely we have to siphon off.
I noticed on your
website.
Go ahead.
It was 1.4 million people showed up to the last midterm. Two things have changed. The first thing is that we've grown. So we have a lot more registered voters now than we did the last time. And then, of course, the state of things since the last midterm election, the last 4 years have been really rough. So I think we're going to see a higher voter turnout. So if 1.5 million showed up like they did last time, we need 880,000 to win in a three-way race. But if more show up, then we need 1 million. So we're going to those 1 million votes. There are people who would have voted Republican, but they won't if a particular candidate wins the primary. They would stay home rather than vote for a Democrat. So we want to bring those folks in. And then we've got a lot of folks that are, they lean Democrat, maybe they're registered Democrat, but they're frustrated with the brand problems that the Democratic Party has. They're very frustrated with what happened with Biden and Harris and all that. They're disillusioned, and they believe a Democrat can't win in South Carolina because, spoiler, they can't. And so, so they're looking for another opportunity as well. So I think we can get the voters we need from those two disaffected groups. We just have to get them to show up.
Yeah.
Sweet. Tub, as we move towards wrapping this up, you have your final questions and comments?
Am I? Yes, I do. Okay. All right. So I know we are at time. So I got a 2-part question real quick then. Okay. So here's what happens. Historically, especially now, anybody who gets elected to go to DC, they get to DC and forget about their state. They worry about their state when it's time to get reelected again. So what do you think? Get to DC, you're up there, you're doing life. What is your role for back at home? Like, what are you there to do directly rather than just get on committees and hang around with the DC swamp? What is your role for back home?
Parades. I love a parade. I would say so. What I'd like to see us do in South Carolina is, if if I get elected, when I get elected, I would like to have an assembly of South Carolina leaders. So there's an organization right now called the SC Forum that is trying to get regular folks to come forward and put some ideas forward and get legislation built from like the grassroots up. There are people who are building those kinds of efforts, those kind of community driven efforts. I'd like to put them together on like a panel or a group of sort of like masterminds, right? Where like anytime I can, maybe it's monthly, maybe it's quarterly, get on a Zoom with those folks and be like, all right, tell me what's happening in South Carolina. I'll share with you guys what's going on. I mean, I actually think I'll be holding monthly town halls to let people know this is what I'm doing for you as your senator. I'd love to do these like live streams. I think that would be great. The way you guys are using StreamYard, it's a fantastic model to just go in there and be like, hey, if you guys have notes, leave me notes. But anyway, so I want to do those monthly directly to the people, but I also want to pull together a board of those business leaders, the community leaders in our state, and just be asking them, what can I do? How can I help? What do you guys need? Like let's stay in touch. I also don't plan to be there for very long. So I don't want to be a politician. If I did, I would have started at the county council, and then I'd have gone to the state house, and then I'd have, I'd have waited for my turn, right? That's not what I'm about. I want to go fix the national debt. So like, let's do that. Let's go fix the national debt and address the Social Security Medicare fiasco that we have going on. And then I'm just going to come home. I mean, I have a job, right? So I'll just come home, maybe go back to teaching, maybe go work for a think tank. I don't know. But like, I don't expect to be there for very long.
All right. So part 2 real quick, and then I know we're running out of time. All right. So now you say you'll have these things, you have these town halls, you'll have these live stream conversations, stuff along those lines. Yeah. What happens when, we all sit in the same area, the 4 of us here, we agree with you about the deficit. We agree with you on that. We agree with you on war. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, what happens when in your calls back home in your town forums and stuff like that, and they're saying, hey, listen, I don't care about that debt. And I believe that we need to be fighting Iran. And the overwhelming amount of people say, hey, we need this war. What do you do at that point when you head back to DC and you go, wait a minute, I hate this idea, but my people say they want this. What do you do?
Yeah, that's a really hard question. And I got to tell you, I don't know. I would really struggle with that. But more than likely, I would say, okay, I need to see the evidence. I need to understand why you think this matters. If you can convince me, if you can change my mind, it's really hard to decide I want to go to war. It's really hard to justify preemptive strikes. I mean, are we glad that Venezuela now has an opportunity to lead itself? I mean, sure, but should we just be storming other people's countries and taking their leaders out of their beds? No, right? No. So, ultimately in the Senate,
I'm sorry, but when you go back home, you don't just represent libertarians who agree with you, unfortunately. And this is what we all know. Like, this is a real problem for libertarians, because whether it's local, it can be city council or Senate, it's the same issue. And I know what I believe, and I think I know what is best, but we represent people. Yeah. And if the people, because right now, there are a lot of Republicans right now who think this is the greatest thing that's been happening is to go after Iran. We're not going to get to it any further because we don't have that kind of time. But it's a real issue. And I think that what happens is we would complain the other way. They go up to DC and they don't seem to care about anything that we want to say. We fuss about that. You know what I'm saying? They're not listening to the people. What happens when the people say it's bad ideas? It's a horrible idea, but you're there only to represent people. And I know you kind of answer like, hey, it's a tough one. But I think that,
so I would say this. I would say my decision making would be based on, obviously philosophically, right? Obviously my personal connections, my faith. I mean, these kinds of things, right? These are the things that drive me from that perspective. When people make decisions that go against their moral fiber, it's because they want to get reelected. And if the price of getting it right means I don't get reelected, I'm going to be okay with that. I'm going to get it right. I don't think we need to be in war. And the other part of that is if it is really good for the country and everybody else thinks it's really good for the country, I'm only one voice out of 100 in the Senate. So as much as I stand there and go, I'm not for this, I'm not for this, I'm not for this, I could very well be outvoted by 99 other people who think it's the right thing for the country to do. And then I could come home and South Carolina should say, they'll go, well, your little I'm not for this didn't work anyway. So whatever case, right? But being reelected is not my primary goal. My primary goal is to go and address the national debt. Let's work on that. Let's fix the problem. And if everything I'm doing is focused on that, I think I'll be representing this people of South Carolina pretty well.
Awesome.
Sweet. Eric.
Yeah, no, Kasie, it's been a pleasure meeting you. I'm happy to be neighbors with you. I'm north in North Carolina, but South Carolina is a great state. I love your passion for libertarianism, your activism within the Libertarian Party, your history within it. It's really awesome to see an established person in your community. I was perusing your website earlier today, and I saw like you're out in the community. Looks like you've done a lot of events, a lot of fairs or whatever. Can you tell us so far your most favorite event that you've been to as a candidate and why?
Oh, that's tough. So first, I will say I went to a luncheon with the Columbia Economics Club that blew my mind. That's where I met Romina. Like, that's where I was like, okay, this is it. These are like a bunch of economics nerds, and they are helping me to really formulate an economics platform, which is really important to me. My background is management. So, and entrepreneurship, which is like adjacent to economics, but it's not like in the world of economics. So I loved that. But I loved the Horry County Gun Show. We were out there with the Horry County Libertarians for a couple of days. And as a matter of fact, one of the guys that I met there sent me a t-shirt, and the t-shirt says, believing the politician will something like believing your politicians is like believing that the stripper loves you or something like that. Trusting a politician is like believing that the stripper loves you. Anyway, he had all these really funny shirts and I loved them. And he came back around and he ended up mailing me one to my campaign post office. So I really enjoyed that. We talked to a lot of people there, people who had just moved to South Carolina. Cause like I said, Horry County is the fastest growing metropolitan area in the nation. So that was really interesting, learning why they chose South Carolina and what made them decide to make their home in our state. And so that was really interesting too. So I would go with those two.
Awesome.
But I've done a lot of really cool stuff, Eric. Like I've been invited into some really fun things, which has been awesome.
Yeah. Enjoy it.
Thanks.
Eric, was that it?
Yeah, I'm done. Whatever.
All right. Well, I just wanted to ask you, because you mentioned 46%, that number has risen a lot of Americans that identify as neither party, as independents. And I think that's a critical number. One of the proudest things for me as a parent is I never told my kids you should be a libertarian. I always told them you need to figure this out for yourself where you stand. And they need to be involved in this because, back before it was popular like it is right now, people say, you need to be in politics because politics is going to be in you. And, it may not be the way you want it to be in you. But both of them registered as independents. So how do you think you should, how would you approach that independent American and sell them on Dr. Whitener's candidacy?
Well, a little bit like I said before, you don't have to be libertarian. I'm interested in asking people to vote libertarian. I think that for an independent voter, if their issue is the national debt and they believe that I can do something about it, then I'm the candidate for them. If their issue is something like restricting gun laws, if their issue is something like stronger drug laws, if their issue is taking, I don't know, if it's any other issue, I may not be the right candidate for them. So for me, the independents, I always wonder if they are somebody that is just tired of the duopoly, and that's part of the reason they're independent. A lot of times people are independent because they don't want to vote for Republican or Democrat, but that's the only candidates they've been given. And so I really just want to understand, why are they independent? And then, is there a specific issue that we align on? Or do you match up with 5 of my 6 or 6 of my 10? Are you about 70% libertarian? Are you about 80%? So I would guess that would be the thing. And a lot of the independent voters I talk to, it is that they're just sick of the duopoly. They're like, anything is better than what we currently have. Like, I get that a lot, where people are like, you've got my vote. And I'm like, you don't even know me. Like, all I said is like, I'm Kasie, I'm running for US Senate. They're like, you've got my vote. And I'm like, really? Well, thank you. I'll take it. I won't even say anymore because I don't want to ruin it. I'll just take
You could always tell them like, hey, just vote for me for 1 term. If I don't do a good enough job, you can go back
Then
to
kick
voting
me
for
out.
the other 2.
Mhm.
Exactly.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's only a 6-year commitment, right? So if I get up there and I'm just mucking it all up, by all means, y'all get me out of there. Yeah.
Tub, you had something else?
Oh, no, just real quick. It's the idea that they might only agree with you about 20%. But if that 20% is big enough for them, that's all you need.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? That we can.
How many people agree with 20% of what Democrats and Republicans do? I don't think you're going to find 3 Americans in a row that will say yes to that question.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But the tribalism and the division and the nastiness and how mean everybody is to each other, the gross, like disgusting amount of money that they're raising and spending, and they have no incentive to fix these problems, because if they do, they can't keep fundraising on them. So, and that's what it is. It is a money game for them.
Yeah. Okay, so are you done? Are you in Tub?
I'm done. I'm done, Marcus. All right.
All right. You look like you were loading up one in the chamber, so I wanted to give you an opportunity.
I thought you were going to get ready to close us out. I was waiting for you to go, Tub, do you have anything else? I was going to go, no, I will allow the doctor to say what she has to say to close us out.
I'll also allow Kasie to give us her closing remarks.
That's what I was getting at. I was doing Marcus's job. I was like, hey, I got nothing. But if the doctor's ready to go, then let her give us our out.
All right, go ahead with your closing remarks, Dr. Whitener.
Well, it's way past my bedtime, so I don't have a whole lot of extra to add. I would just thank you guys so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. I really could talk to you for another hour. It's always fun to engage with other libertarians when we think about what do we have in common, but also when we think about there's some really hard problems facing our country right now. And sometimes it seems like the grown-ups have all left the room and all we're seeing is theater and all we're seeing is fundraising. If you are getting fundraising messages to your phone via text message by a dozen different candidates, then recognize the game. The game is about raising money. They have no incentive to fix these problems. They don't want to govern. They just want to be famous. They just want to make money. Like that see through it. And the beauty, I think, is that a lot of our independent voters do, and a lot of our young people do. And so we're really relying on them. I have so much faith in Gen Z. We're really relying on Gen Z to come up with their cynicism and be like, y'all, we got to get something new coming up here too. But we're Gen Xers, right? 3 of the 4 of us are Gen Xers. And it's time you get off the bench, man. We have been letting this go on for way too long. Like, we have just let the boomers run amok, and the millennials behind us, who, Lord bless their hearts, come on. So Gen X got to get in the game. Sorry, Eric, but we can't with your participation trophy culture. I just can't.
Nah. See, that's the thing. Gen X, we're the Wu-Tang Clan, the Smiths, Duran Duran.
Oh, the Smiths. You did not the Smiths. I love it.
Yeah, we're those people. We need to step up. Tub is a boomer. And so
I'm younger than you.
He's not a boomer.
Tub's closer to me than you, Marcus. I'm just kidding. Not quite.
Yeah.
Painful.
All right, so
I love it.
Dr. Kasie, how can people we got your website posted here, but how can people reach you and get your social media and all that good stuff?
And
that's it. It's at Kasie SC. All the socials are at Kasie SC. We're going to start launching some really fun social media campaigns where we're highlighting kick-ass South Carolinians that are doing really cool stuff. So looking forward to that campaign coming online here in the next few weeks. Really trying to bring people together on all of those platforms. So we're on Twitch and X and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and Lord, it's exhausting. But we're building a bunch of really good content to go out there. But more than anything, I'm blogging. And so I think Eric mentioned reading some of the stuff that's on there. So all these events I'm going to and these people that I'm spending time with, I'm writing all those stories. And that's my strength, my superpower is writing. So read the blog, learn a little bit more about me, shoot me a note, send me, reach out to me on social media, direct messages. I'm glad to get those. And then of course, fill out the forms. You can volunteer, you can donate, you can just get on the email list, and we'll just stay in touch. And then we need people to show up. If you're in South Carolina and you want to come walk in the 5 Point St. Patrick's Day Parade this weekend, send me a message and we'll include you in that. And then we've got a big event on March 29th. That's my birthday. It's going to be Kasie Day in Kasie, South Carolina, at Steel Hands Brewing. So if anybody wants to come out for that as well, that'll be a big fundraising day for us. Steel Hands Brewing, yeah.
Yeah,
that's the part Eric worked up the most about. Which brewery was that? What?
I just wrote down March 29th brewery.
March 29th. It's a Sunday. It's a Sunday from 1 to 4. Yeah, you want to do a little afternoon outdoor day drinking on a Sunday. Yeah.
What town is that in? Where at?
It's in Kasie, Cayce.
Kasie. Awesome.
Cayce.
Yeah, I failed to mention that she is a craft beer fan, and that's where she stole my libertarian heart.
That's what got me involved in politics.
And I actually told her that story, Eric, about how you became a libertarian because of the COVID lockdown and where you were working. So before you came on, it's a damn shame.
Well, sad news. There was a Still Hands here in Greensboro, and they just closed last week, but I applied for a job there and had an interview. I didn't get the job, but anyways.
Well,
I digress.
That's why they closed down.
When Charlie and I first got married back in 2001, we were working at South End Brewery in Charlotte back in like that first round of breweries in the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. We were working at South End Brewery in Charlotte, and they had Carolina Blonde Ale was their big signature ale. So yeah, we've been brewery people for a long time. We had to wait for the trend to come back around, right? Because they all went down, but now they've all coming back around again.
Yeah,
I miss when Eric had his ponytail and man bun.
It was a mullet.
He had a mullet.
That's the closest I got was a mullet. Anyway,
I don't think you're allowed to brew beer without one, are you?
Exactly. Casey, this was such a blast. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I had a lot of fun.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all.
Tub, are you going to say thank you?
Thank you, Marcus. Oh, not you.
Oh, not me.
Not to you. Yes. Thank you for coming on. And listen. We can all appreciate a good craft beer. Let's be very clear with this.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. And so actually, when we were running here, I actually did a number of events at local craft breweries because we had a ton of them here in Jacksonville. So that was the same thing. They'll come out, hang out for a little while, spend a little time, talk, get the word out. Listen. So here's what we want. This is the official callback for you. Okay. So in office or out of office, we want you to come back. Okay. And when you come back, it's lessons learned. We listen, we truly believe that we can always learn from the ones who've went and done something. Marcus, you can miss that episode. So it's the kind of, because here's the thing is the way that we will move forward as the Libertarian Party is to pass on what we've learned so that the next ones maybe can do something different. So we will have you back, preferably as a senator. Okay.
I would love that.
But if not, come back anyway. And let's go over these type of things that at some point you'd be surprised how much you can pass off to somebody who maybe is getting ready to run in your same area.
Sure. My plan is to write a book. And so I'll be back to stump for that and get you guys to sell copies of the book. Yeah. Are you going to be in Grand Rapids? Are you guys going to Michigan?
I'm going.
Some of us.
Yeah, Tub is. I'm not sure if I am. So
you'll
be able to meet Tub.
I'm not going to go as a delegate, but I might go. I don't know.
Well, your official invitation to hang out with me. Let's have a beer. I would love it.
Sweet.
That's awesome. All right. So with that being said, we want to thank everybody who watched, listened, and thank the Libertarian Party, National Party for sharing. Thank everybody who shared this today. I ask that those who watched this also share. We have her website up, CaseySouthCarolina.com. There's a donate button there. Please, whatever you can give, $5, $10, $15, $20. put your money where your memes are, is like what we like to say here, because you can't just be based on social media and not based in the actual reality of life where the duopoly is screwing us all over. And with that being said, this is the Black Powder Podcast. As we always end this podcast, live free
or die.
Guy.
This is the Black Powder Podcast, coming at you live and direct.
Your salty tears season my life. It's the Black Powder Podcast.